Hi. Thank you very much. I want to thank Sarah and White Lotus for having me here, and I'm so happy to be here reading with Lorianne and Carmen, whose work I greatly admire. And that introduction was all about my interlingual work, but what I had planned to read today is pretty much in English. Almost all of it is in English. But maybe I'll switch out a few poems, since you gave that introduction, and do a few that aren't in English, or that are in that mix. I also had planned on reading mostly ekphrastic poems, because I've been doing a lot of ekphrastic writing these days. And so I had slides, but they couldn't get the projector to work in the rain. And I do have them on this, and there's somebody in the car coming with a printout. If they get here, they'll pass them around. I won't be able to hold this to show you and click at the same time.
You want me to hold it?
Yeah, do you mind? There's like several slides for some of the pieces, and this I've been really obsessed with the visual artist Ana Mendieta, and you can see a couple of her pieces there, and we'll go through a few of them. She was from Cuba and was sent to the United States during Operation Peter Pan, which, as many of you probably know, was this effort by the United States to save, the children from Castro's communism, as they called it. And so they sent them, separated them from their parents and sent them to the United States. And for some children, that worked out well. For a lot of them, it really orphaned them. And Ana Mendieta ended up spending a lot of time in foster care and in the juvenile correction system. It was a really rough going for her. She ended up becoming an artist, and she does this earthworks, very ephemeral work. And unfortunately, when she was really still quite young, in her 36 years old, she either jumped or accidentally fell or was pushed by her husband to her death from the 34th floor of a New York City high-rise. Her husband was acquitted. No one really knows what exactly happened. So I'm going to read a few poems that respond to her work. And the first one's called Nexus, and it responds to the Silueta series. And so you can see some of them to get an idea of the kind of work she did. Nexus. After Ana Mendieta's Silueta series, Earth Body Works, 1973 to 1980. This body always compost, hair a plot of thin green stems, snowing a shroud of petals, skin mud-sucked to bark, trunk only timber isthmusing riverbanks, each finger a dirty uprooting. How many stones did I have to swallow before my legs believed their own weight, dropped into silhouette of thigh and hip, a ridge of ossicles crushed to fine white whispers. Offering Quilapan their orphaned pleas, one twin lingers outside the nave, one cloistered in a vaulted niche, its ledge of red roses edging her blood-soaked robes. Meat, bone, a deer's skitter and bolt from the arrow, an iguana's severed tail, spiny tracks. They say we dig our own graves. I have laid me down in a Yagul tomb, outlined my island arms with twig, rock, blossom, mud, my pulse with fire, glass, and blood. I've raised myself in the earth's beds, left this trace, this exiled breath. And another Ana Mendieta piece from Silueta. This is 1980, and you can see how in some pieces she merges her body with the earth, and in other pieces she draws its trace, or a trace of a figure in the earth. And so this poem is called Our Lady of Sorrows. Our Lady of Sorrows has appeared to the mountain dwellers, her grief engraved where stone softens to clay. Keep your eyes sharp for a dagger. In its hilt, you'll find her face pressed to the earth's cheek. Kiss this sacred spot before the rains wash it away like her orphaned feet. Notched heart cradles a planet heavy with nightmares flying into empty mouths. Listen for their thirsty murmurs. She'll push her ponderous child into the dew of a San Felipe dawn. Name him Salvador. They'll rest beneath a web-spun umbilical, eclipsed from our human eyes. Our Lady, stone, clay, earth, rain, orphaned, heart, eclipsed. And then I spent some time at a writing workshop in the Linden Sculpture Garden in Milwaukee. And at the time, this artist, Amy Cropper, had this piece called Inverse here. And this poem responds to Inverse, the tree. As you can see, the tree, well, the poem sort of says it. That was the, he says she did it. This is what happened to it. And I brought Ana Mendieta into here as well. She ends up in this poem. Okay. So, Inverse. Cropper stripped the hawthorn of her skin, excised arms, painted war on her flayed torso until she blazed a squat flame igniting weeds, yellow leaves, even the snow mounting her lap. All year long, naked boughs glistened like a flock of bloody wings. But when May pushes green through cracked lips, blossoms bursting from a torch of lacquered limbs, I wait for Ana Mendieta to step out of the knotted wood, trunk simmering, arms raised in the V of freefall to our knees, broken stems regenerating. And a few more ekphrastic poems. There's also an artist named Roy Stabb, who's a Milwaukee artist, who does, again, this a lot of really ephemeral work, earthworks. And I have a few poems on some of his pieces. This piece, Chiral Formation, I don't know if you can see it from here. The rings on the water. There's a close-up. There's maybe the best one. Chiral Formation. Buckthorn saplings curve into hoops, linking boughs, ring around the rosy. 4 staked crowns etch surface, barbed shiver, pocket full of hands. What do you net in the intersect when you walk on water? A forest, my haunted face crowing, cumulus algae. Our ashes, child slim as a reed. Where does a lemniscate drift, chiral twin wander when the sun falls down? Down falls sun, wander in chiral driftscape where reed, child, hour, cumulus crowing haunt my forest. Water walk, insect, do what? Full pock, barbed face, etch, own, ache, rosy rounding, ink, oops, pling. So the second half of that poem, the poem is a palindrome, but it's a disintegrating palindrome. So the second half of the poem is, disintegrating as the piece will into the environment. Yeah, and that's why you saw the language disintegrating as well, or heard it disintegrating. And this is also Roy Stabb, and this is a new piece that he just had at an art place in a garden. So that's what it looks like. This is what it's like when you're inside of it. You can walk into the piece. And so this is after this piece, which he titles Shadow Dance. Flexing like acrobats, twinned reeds bend into 6 mammoth rings. Anchored willow branches shoulder this universe, its planets entering each other's orbits. A bent line is stronger than a straight one. Approach, and ellipses shift to circles, locking arms with their shadows, while blocks and worlds away, men orphan themselves, tear through one another. If you enter this constellation, it turns to labyrinth, spiders stretching sky bridges from branch to branch, butterflies drifting between loops, lawn beginning its journey back to prairie where I lie in a crescent moon nest. Outside, fists grip clubs, train triggers to split and shatter, break ground for graves, never enough jute to suture ourselves together. Soon birds will tug at twine, insects eat of the hairy reeds. Winds may loosen and sweep away, but today you have crawled to the center. When I meet you where you stand, our shadows overlap. So that's where I stab. And Roberto, you want to help me? This is my husband, Roberto Harrison, who's a poet, who's also a poet. And I have a piece that I did some work after the glass art of Harvey Littleton, who was one of the first artists to bring blowing glass into the studio. It was always blown on factory floors before that, and so the designer of the piece wasn't the same person who blew the piece. And Littleton was a potter, and he worked with another potter, and they finally, they shattered a lot of glass before they got the right formula to make a kiln that you could actually use to blow glass in an artist's studio. And this poem is after this piece, and it's got a little ghost voice. So Roberto's going to read the first voice, and I'm going to read the ghost voice. It's called In Veiled Voices.
Topple the mountain's cool crown,
mount,
into the tangerine sunset,
set into
twilight's cobalt claw,
snagged light,
in its honey slump crawl,
all slump,
across dunes, petrified gush
across,
of silt and shale, fixed mud with
set,
ash, magenta mesas stretch between
ash,
stars, meet 300 foot,
between
drops to the canyon floor,
cliff drops,
cliff dwellers, a red clay bowl nestles
red dwellers,
in the belly of its own ghost.
Come in,
Come, the blistering stones speak
the
time to grind the yellow corn.
Yellow time.
Prepare this tilted table. Push our elliptical breath through amber spheres of light.
Light through. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to let you rest for a second. I'll read a couple of poems that I had. Let's see if I have the book here. Yeah. Because you did the introduction about the interlingual stuff, I feel like, I should do a few of those. So I'll do one. Well, actually, this one is in. I wrote it in Spanish and then translated it into English. So you'll hear it in Spanish and then in English, and then I can do one of the interlingual ones. I guess I can do two. So this is called Poema para los Tintunteros, and it's an homage to drummers. It's an ode to drummers. I worked with a band. I worked with a punk and Espanol band for a while, and the one thing that I loved about our drummer was that he was always keeping the time, no matter where he was. He was always tapping on something, always keeping the time, right? And that's what the drummers do for us. So, poema para los tintunteros. Para los timbaleros, los bateristas, los tintunteros, los que tocan con cucharas en sus estufas, con lápices en sus escritorios, con uñas y nudillas en mesas, muebles, sus propias cabezas, con puños contra paredes y dedos en las espinas y curvas de sus amantes, danzantes. Para los congueros, los tamboristas, los bongoceros, los que nunca descansan con sus tacones siempre golpeando la piel del piso, zapateando en sus sueños llenos de maracas, güiros y claves. Estos bailadores con pasos tan suaves y caderas que se muevan como sus hi-hats y tarolas. Para los timbaleros, los bateristas, los tintunteros, son chingones con sus tormentas de platillos, sus juegos de palillos que vuelan como alas, que malas, sus trampas que no nos permitan trabajar ni dormir, solamente bailar y cantar, cantar y bailar y a veces mover la tierra un poquito. Poem for the tintunteros. This for the timbaleros, percussionists, tintunteros, those who tap with spoons on their stoves, with pencils on their desks, with nails and knuckles on tables, beds, their own heads, with fists against walls and fingers on the spines and curves of their lovers. Dancers. This for the congueros, drummers, bongoceros, those who never rest with their staccato heels, always hammering the skin of the floor, stomping in their dreams filled with maracas, güiros, and claves. These dancers with steps so smooth and hips that move like their hi-hats and snares. This for the timbaleros, percussionists, tintunteros, they are badasses with their cymbal storms, their games of sticks that fly like wings, how scampish their tricks that won't let us work or sleep, only dance and sing and dance and sometimes move the earth a little. Another one that moves back and forth, this one, between English and Spanish. And it's also ekphrastic, and it was written in response to this piece by the Los Angeles artist Chaz Bojorquez. That's okay, you don't have to. And they've got some copies going around of some of the art. Chaz Bojorquez is a graffiti artist, but as you can see when the copy comes around, or from here, that it's graffiti art, but he does it on canvas now. He hangs it in museums, and it's very glyphic. A lot of it looks like it could be glyph. You can read it. There are words and names in the piece, if you know how to read it. So this poem is called Placa Roll Call, and that's also the name of the graffiti piece. Your placa, in Chicano art, your placa is your signature, your sign that stamps your art. And it begins with an epigraph from the artist who said, if the city was a body, graffiti would tell us where it hurts. And this block would shout, nos diste un chingazo, cabrón. Mira esta cara rota, these baton cracked ribs, this black and blue street dizzy con gente. Blades, Kiki, Larry, Snow, Enrique, Connie, Elton King, David, Kelly, Jeff Raton, Chaz. Los de aquí, los de abajo. This roll call won't be silenced, not by Glock, not by chokehold. This, our temple of runes, our tomb, its glyphic curve and flow, calligraphic code, writ acrylic. This, our relic, our scroll unrolled in catacombs, our flecks of subtext still buzzing después de que vayamos con la pelona. Que lucha, loco. Ven, baile con nosotros to the aerosol's maraca y hiss. Al punk in español's furious sweat. Hang your head out the window y dale un grito tan lleno de duende that it cracks the pavement. Summons our dead to dinner. Turn the tonal kaleidoscope. Then pause. Catch your breath so you don't miss the illegible moment where all the mystery lives. There, decipher that. So that's thank you. And then I'll probably close, because I'm probably running out of time, with a poem that it references a whole bunch of artworks. And I have slides on there, but I don't want to go through. You'll see them. They'll come in that packet that's coming around. It references them, but it's really a friend of mine asked me to write sort of my poetics of resistance, or my aesthetics of resistance. And this is what I came up with. I called it Ars Resistencia. Fish bottle caps from heaps of distillery waste. Sift trash for milk tin lids. Twist, crush, chain link them to each other like thousands of small arms locking. Drape them into 15 by 30 foot seas of kente cloth. Tapestry, grasslands swagged in wind, speckled with red wings, blue, silver agama. Do this in communion with others. Urge them to reshape landscape, shift peaks and folds. Call it salvage, reuse, synergetic upcycle. Call it recover and reclaim. Call it puro rascuache, güey. Do this in memory of network, warp and weft, twist and distort texture, strike the loom. Do this in memory of mesh fences we peer through in a post-fence wireless world, blocked and barbed just for us. Make yourself so small the cuffs fall from your wrists, then thread the warp. Climb, crawl, drag your dinner table a la frontera, set one end acá in Mexico, el otro allá. Prepare pozole with all the fixings. Invita tus amigos de ambos lados. Claro, Adelita will ask Paul to pass the heat. Los jalapeños y rábanos, por favor. Pero la migra will be waiting, watchando. Y cuando Paul's pinky sneaks over the line, they may not let him back in, ese. He'll have to sell his bowl of beans. The least you can do is bring him some aguacate, un poquito de cilantro. Show us your fancy footwork, your disappearing act. Now you're here. Ahora. Storm tomato fields spitting fricatives, snapping toxic vines, slingshot plosives at orange groves, dropping citrus into the blistered hands reaching to pick it. Up the ante. Plant your syllables on picket lines. Pace. Plant yourselves in public space. Refuse to flinch. Plant feet so firm, will takes root. Plant will so wide, ears sprout ancestral maize. Eat of this body unengineered. Do this in memory of corn, potatoes, papaya, squash, tomatoes, cotton, canola, soy, beets, zucchini, cane. Do this in memory of milkweeds, monarchs, honeybees. Do this in memory of water, your last sip. Paint the winter white howl. Inscribe the undivided O. Sound the voiced and voiceless stops of hunger strike, of boycotts, broken shackles, de calacas with their midnight carcajadas, waking us from sleep. Thank you.